also gather here under the shadows of anti-minority and anti-immigrant state policies and violence against minorities and immigrants, both in the US and in India. So we are currently under the clouds of certain kinds of criminality by states, whether it's Israel, the USA or India. Okay, is this better? So what I thought, because all of us are actually quite clear about the issue, that Palestine belongs to the Palestinians, that Israel is an apartheid state, it is a settler, it's a settler power. We know these things, but I'm using this opportunity to build a different kind of a background and enable us to think about Palestine not in a different way, but with our hearts rather than with our heads. Let me begin by paraphrasing the Italian historian Carlo Ginzburg, who said this. In history, he said something like this, I'm paraphrasing it, I don't have the exact quote unfortunately. In history as in cinema, every close-up or every image implies an ongoing off-screen scene. This is a very important point to remember when we think about history, because there's a tendency on the part of authoritarian states and majoritarian politics to pick up one picture and insist that we only look at it. Only look at October 7th. Let's start and end everything with October 7th, when Hamas attacked Israel. So we are supposed to begin every discussion on the latest phase of this ferocious 77-year-old war that Israel has been waging on the Palestinian people, and each of us has to continuously answer the question, but do you condemn Hamas? This belligerent question reminds me of the words of the Palestinian poet Murid Barghouti, who said, if you want to dispossess a people, the simplest way to do it is to tell their story, but start with secondly. Start with and end with the close-up. Start with and end with the freeze frame. Obliterate the ongoing off-screen scene. Bassem Youssef, Egyptian comedian and television host, was pushed on a television show to condemn Hamas, and this is how he answered that question. He said, imagine a world without Hamas. What would that world look like? Let us give this world a name and let us call it West Bank. Hamas has no control over West Bank, but here in 2023 August alone, 37 Palestinian kids were killed in just that 1 month, in August, long before Hamas attacked from Gaza, and Hamas has in any case absolutely no power in the West Bank. And he goes on to say there was no music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. Since the occupation of the West Bank, 7,000 Palestinians have been killed. All this was before this current genocide. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. In other words, Palestinians and those who support Palestine are continuously called upon to condemn acts of violence by the Palestinian resistance, but nobody is called into television studios to condemn the ongoing acts of mass violence for over 75 years by the apartheid Israeli state. We know this, but at every opportunity we need to say this again and again, that the migration of Jews from all over the world into their so-called homeland was not into a space that was vacant of people. The Palestinians living there for millennia had to be forcibly evicted. We have to say this again and again, because they have destroyed the Palestinian people, they are destroying the Palestinian people. We have to pick up their flag and we have to speak for them. So the Palestinians living there for millennia had to be forcibly evicted. There has been a steady swallowing of Palestinian lands by Jewish settlements, herding of Palestinian people into continually shrinking little slivers of land of West Bank and Gaza. How is Palestinian land taken over? By a variety of strategies. By military force with guns and bombs, primarily from non-combatant farm families. By demolishing Palestinian homes on flimsy legal grounds or punitively. I'll come a little while later to the Zionist Hindutva brotherhood, but you can see that some very fine lessons have been learned from the Zionists by those who run Hindu Rashtriya. So Palestinian homes are demolished on flimsy grounds or punitively, and many suddenly homeless Palestinians have to vacate their land, which is then taken over for Jewish families. To add insult to injury, the Knesset passed a law in 2011 that would require Palestinians to pay for the demolition costs of their own homes. And now the strategy is to make Palestinians self-demolish their own homes. Didn't we see this happening in India recently? Until 90, that is, you are told, if you don't demolish these parts of your home, the bulldozers will come. Until 1948, there was no Israel, and the map showed a country called Palestine. But from 1948, there is only Israel, and Palestinians are encroachers, criminals, and terrorists in their own land. This is why the BZH University Union statement after October 7th said unequivocally, an occupying colonial power cannot claim the right to self-defense against the people under its brutal occupation. There is no moral equivalence between the colonizer and the colonized. This is the first link with which we need to begin. What is the second link? That Hamas is a creation of Israel and its allies. Hamas was launched in 1988 in Gaza at the time of the first Intifada with a charter that denied legitimacy to the existence of the Israeli state. But in a pattern familiar with imperialist powers all over the globe, Israel had for a decade or so prior to 1988 supported the emergence of the Islamist force that became Hamas as a counter to Yasser Arafat's Fatah party, which formed the heart of the PLO. A leftist guerrilla movement, Israel considered its main enemy and divide and rule. After the 1993 Oslo Accords, the situation changed. Israel formally recognized the PLO, Hamas became the enemy. Hamas refused to accept Israel or renounce violence, and as a journalist put it, Ishan Tharoor, that Hamas became perhaps the leading institution of Palestinian resistance to Israeli occupation. And that is the reason, not only religious ideology, that is the reason for its continued popularity among Palestinians.